Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is yes, again, it is BRENNON with another episode of the Rap Recap. Shout out to everybody that's participating in Retroactive Purple for yet another season or for your first season. I appreciate you. Didn't get much feedback last week on the recap. I'm guessing nobody watched it. Crickets. Crickets. But nevertheless, I'm here again. Not necessarily for you, but for myself. I'm showing up for myself. That's what Natalie Loren said. Shout out to Natalie Loren. Show up for yourself. But nobody else will. So here's the recap. Starting off with a layup of a matchup. Not much resistance offered from Zach, aka No Code Dogs, in week 5 from the Queen's Brigade, aka Janine Truesdale. Pretty comfortable win, 264.86 to 188. Zach was in trouble earlier in the season with Jordan Love going out week 1. Thought he would be without a solid point producing player, particularly at the quarterback position. But he did have Kirk Cousins, and I believe he had somebody before that as a backup, and he weathered the storm. Jordan Love ended up coming back, and he's performed well the past 2 weeks. 30-something points last week. I think 34 points, and then 21 points this week. 38 and 21. But that wasn't enough. Too many other guys on the offense, as you can see, just not showing up. Jake Ferguson gave him 12. Jaden Reed had a solid game, but didn't get in the end zone. Not enough targets or catches. And then he had a couple guys show up on defense, but that was pretty much it. Meanwhile, the defending champion, the Queen's Brigade, in the first or the second season of the new rebrand from the previous team name, continues her championship defense in admirable fashion. 30 points from Kyler Murray. Nico Collins, 19.8 points. Unfortunately, he did go out of the game after that bomb of a touchdown that he caught. Pretty much one play gave him almost 20 points, which one of the big things I appreciate about Retroactive. You make a big play, you get a big response, a big reward. But he's on the IR. Hopefully he'll be back after 4 weeks, heal up his hamstring. Didn't look like anything was torn the way he walked off the field and into the tunnel. Maybe just a severe pull. Speedy recovery to him. But the surprise of the day, at least on this roster, was Tucker Kraft. My goodness. Talking about Jaden Reed not getting a touchdown. It's because Tucker Kraft stole them. He had 2 of them, including a big rumbling touchdown down the left sideline, looking like Gronk, stiff arming somebody and outrunning somebody else, I believe, on his way into the end zone against the Rams. Love to see it. He gave Janine 27 points. Solid responses, or solid production rather, from the linebacking core. Pretty much matched what Zach did, but the rest of the defense showed up as well. 20 points from Devin Bush off the wire. 19.5 points from Antonio Johnson. I believe he was filling in for Darnell Savage. Tyler Nubin for the Giants, the rookie, 19 points. Solid overall performance, and there was some firepower left on the bench. Kirk Cousins had 47 on the bench for Zach. Wouldn't have made a difference. Just a bad matchup, bad week. And kudos to Janine for the victory. Let's see. I want to jump over to another blowout. I'm kind of getting the blowout side of the way. Which was Kevin Grabowski, another former champion. I believe it was 2 seasons ago that he won. Yeah. Yep. Not this past season, but the season prior. Rap champion got his victory, 233 to 185.7 against the Big Rough Pugs, aka Quentin Gibbs. Not really close at any point. And moves Kevin to 2-3. Drops Quentin to 1-4. That was a pivotal matchup to stay out of the basement and rap. Trevor Lawrence finally did what he has been projected to do throughout the course of his NFL career. Coming out of college, 30 points, 371 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, but he did enough to get the win. against a divisional foe in the Jaguars or in the Colts. Also got 13 points from Brian Robinson, DJ Moore 27, Eric Kendricks 20, double digits from all the linebackers, 26 points from Kobe Turner, a 2-sack, 6-tackle game as a defensive tackle. Not saying he's Aaron Donald, but he gave an Aaron Donald-like effort, according to this stat line, which the Rams are sorely needing in that interior on the defense. Will Anderson, notably quiet as he's been all season, outside of, I think, week 1. Myles Garrett gave Kevin a goose egg, and he still managed to put up 233. Pretty solid, impressive performance. All the DBs double digits. Enough to get the win this week against another struggling owner and team. Nothing from the offense except for George Kittle. He had a day, 8 catches for 64 yards. I think he got banged up again. Looks like he may be missing some more time. Nope, he'll be out there on Thursday. He just banged up his ribs. 20 points from Kittle. And that's pretty much it. The DBs were solid. Hamlin, Woods, Emerson, Humphrey. But nothing from the D-line outside of Harrison Phillips. Not much from the linebacking core. You're welcome for Trenton Simpson. He was getting on my nerves, but glad he's producing something for you. But you need a lot more because, that's not going to cut it. Metcalf, Cooper, Sutton. I mean, big names, relatively speaking, at receiver, but not big production. Not nearly enough. Let me see who I want to go to next. Oh, yeah. Another race to relegation contestant, D-Block Penitentiary, a.k.a. Quincy Barge, took yet another L to stay tied for first in the relegation race, 209.46, against a team that was shaky to start the year. Real shaky. But has since stabilized as he's done in previous seasons. If it's a rough draft, if it's injuries, if it's just a bad start from bad performances. Another former champion, Jordan Parks, a.k.a. Ray Loco's Band of Memphis. Memphis? Band of Memphis. Maybe you should change the name. Band of Misfits, 275.12. Dominant victory. Helmed behind the big performances from Lamar Jackson and Jamar Chase. Both gave 40-plus point performances. Jamar Chase went stupid, especially on that over route. I forget how many yards it was into the right corner of the end zone. He should have never been that open. I don't know what the Ravens defense was doing. And then obviously the catch and run where he put on the Jets and just ran past and through everybody. Spectacular performance. Spectacular performance. And the same thing for Lamar. 4 touchdowns, almost 350 yards. That one play where he stiff-armed the guy in the grill, backed up, threw it across his body into the end zone likely and still got a touch. I mean, it's a reason he's an MVP. I'm giving Lamar Jackson all the credit he deserves. The past 3 seasons, this one included, last year and the year before, he has played like a true quarterback that can run the ball instead of a running quarterback. All the criticism and grief I gave him the years prior, I think was justified. He had to grow, and I think he has grown, and he is what he should be, which is the top quarterback in fantasy, the top quarterback in the league, and the MVP. Hopefully that pans out into some playoff success. We'll see. Not much else from the offense. Travis Kelce finally got back involved with Kansas City, gave him 11 points, 9 catches, 70 yards. Kenneth Walker got a lot of catches, but not much on the ground. The defense stood up well for Jordan. 15-point performances from his linebackers with 14 from Edmonds, but close enough. DBs all double digits, including 19 from Brandon Stevens. Defensive flexes both gave double digits. So a solid team performance, mostly from the defense, and booms from a couple guys on offense. It wasn't really going to make a difference. Like I said about the previous 2 matchups, going against an opponent that just doesn't care. It's not really showing up. They're playing around in the flex, playing around in the waiver wire, just kind of flapping their arms and splashing and making puddles and, Make sure they stay on the 4 foot end of the pool, not really challenging themselves. In Quincy, you got two receivers that gave 20-point performances. Garrett Wilson got like 22 targets to get 100 yards and 13 catches. Just a little bit inefficient, but it works. 24 points still didn't really yield the result that Quincy wanted. Aaron Jones got banged up pretty early in the Minnesota game. Sucks for him and for the penitentiary, which is where Quincy's team is right now. T. Higgins, 24.8 points. He had a great performance alongside Chase. He ain't Chase. I mean, he's not Jamar Chase. So great booming performances, more booming performances in number for Quincy's offense than Jordan's offense. But if you scroll down, where's the defense? Only, what's that? Yeah. I'm going to just let you, you all get to see it. That's why I'm grateful for doing the screen recording. You get to see it. I don't have to say much. You get to see it. Alec Pierce has been balling in very, very limited reps and targets for the Colts thus far, especially since Flacco took over. And yet Alec Pierce was left on the bench in favor of Jerry Jeudy. So, and yeah, the defense. Some bye weeks there. Jahmyr Gibbs, Mark Andrews hasn't been the Mark Andrews of old, but that was kind of, known in the offseason with how likely did last year. So, yeah, So, number one in the relegation race standings, Mr. Barge. And that's a 60 ball, almost 70 ball for Jordan. Next matchup here. Who do I want to go to next? We had a lot of good matchups, which I'm trying to kind of save the best for last. Let me go to the upset of the week. Interdivisional matchup between the Locks, a.k.a. Sip, Devon Tingle, and Negus in Paris, Juan Redmond. A upset victory down to the wire to end the undefeated start to the season for the Locks by a team that is still in the relegation race, but they've moved out of second place and allowed the other owners to occupy the fast lanes. Negus in Paris, 261.9 to 257.56. Very, very impressive win for Juan. Everybody put it together. It was absolutely a complete team effort, mostly from the defense, but a lot of solid double-digit performances or high-end single-digit performances from Negus in Paris. As you can see, Aaron Rodgers played most of the game against Minnesota until he got banged up at the end and still finished the game, but he did not play well. For whatever reason, that cost Robert Saleh his job as a defensive-minded head coach. Instead of Nathaniel Hackett, but another story for another time. Aaron Rodgers only 14.76 points. Enough to get the win in fantasy, although it was not enough to get the win in real life. James Conner, Rashad Bateman, Austin Eckler, Dare Ogunbowale, had to practice that one. Quincy Williams, Spillane, Zach Allen, Jonathan Allen, Jesse Bates, Jaquan Brisker, Xavier McKinney, Jamel Dean, and Demarion Overshown. Is it Demarion? Demarvion Overshown. I've been saying it wrong this whole time. All double-digit scores from these players, and then you still had Tyreek just 0.1 points shy of double digits. 8.7 from Parkinson, which is great in the tight end spot. 7 from Jonathan Cooper at D-line. Everybody contributed. Every player contributed, and every contribution was necessary for the victory. I would say Rashad Bateman is the MVP of the week to give Juan this win. 13.8 points from Rashad Bateman is completely unexpected with how he's performed all season. Highest target share of the year, most receptions on the year, most yards on the year, and a touchdown. I think that's ironically, I didn't even think about this when I brought this up, but Yeah, he's a Raven, and he beat a big Ravens fan. So that's the worst. When you lose a fantasy matchup because of a player that plays for your team that you're a fan of, sucks. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. Taking some water. Very, very impressive. Very good performance from Juan. Just looking at some of these names who got these scores, I think it's safe to say, taking bias out of it, that these performances are not going to be replicated all season. Like a 17 ball from Zach Allen and 12 points from Jonathan Allen. Probably not going to happen again. Jaquan Brisker is out, but he would be good for at least 15 every week if he's healthy. 20 from Jamel Dean. I mean, I don't know. The defense, he drafted his defense to perform this well consistently. So it wouldn't be too surprising, but the offense, Rashad Bateman is probably not going to do that again. And that offense, I don't know. I think this is a roster that can get a solid 230, 240 every week. They've just been underperforming. Eckler went for 11.5. Dare, I don't know. The roster has some potential, foundationally built on defense. We'll see how it goes the rest of the year, but they showed up well in the right moment to keep Juan out of the basement and in contention early in the year. No slouch performance from Sip on the other side. Geno Smith, 24.56. Derrick Henry had another whale of a game. Didn't really show up so much on the stat sheet, but if you watch the film, I mean, he made everybody look like children. Chuba Hubbard continued his streak of great play since Andy Dalton took over at quarterback. 14.5. Mike Evans, 20.7. Much, much more of an offensively foundation performance from the locks. Wan'Dale Robinson, 13. Brenton Strange, surprise double-digit score, based mostly on the touchdown, but it's not about how you get it. It's just about getting it. Alexander Madison had I ain't going to say solid. He had an okay performance for the Raiders. Didn't really get a chance to get too much on the ground because the Raiders were down really early and getting their heads stomped by the Broncos, with Gardner Minshew throwing pick sixes. Man. But AOC starting. We'll see how that goes. Starting against the Steelers. It's not the best start. Kareem Hunt. Thought that was going to be the difference maker on Monday night, as he's been in other matchups. But he stopped just short. I thought they were going to run out the clock a lot more. He definitely made a difference for me and Ray, almost. But it was kind of the same scenario. Just could have got a couple more carries, and he would have helped Sip win. I didn't need him to get any more carries because I was playing against him and Ray. I digress. Bobby Wagner, Devondre Campbell, Nick Bosa, all double-digit scores. Great scores. Not quite enough from the defense as what he needed. Even though the defense did what they're supposed to do. Everybody really showed up the way they were supposed to. Dennis Gardeck gets like 2 more tackles, or 2 tackles, period. That's a win for Sip. Forgive me for all these notifications coming in. I'm going do not disturb, but solid matchup across the board. Somebody has to win. Anytime 2 owners cross the 250 point threshold, it's a toss up. Those matchups, for me personally, I don't get too upset if I lose. I would prefer not to lose, obviously, but I know my team did everything they're supposed to do. Unless I just had like star players like give me nothing. Like if Juan had lost with Tyreek giving him 9.9 points, I would feel a way about Tyreek. Obviously, he doesn't have his top quarterback, but still, you need your star players to help you in matchups like this, unless you have other guys step up like Rashad Bateman. So, good win for Juan. See here. I was not expecting all these people to hit me up. And my phone's been dry all day. All day. Nobody said nothing to me. Nobody's called me. Nobody's texted me as soon as I start recording. Ain't that how I go, though? Another tight matchup here. Black Rob, a.k.a. Robert Taylor, a.k.a. TaylorMade Thoroughbreds, spelled Throughbreds, going up against the Chicago Rock Stars. 10-point victory. Solid matchup and great performance from D. Will, a.k.a. David Wilson. Just not enough this week against a perennial championship contender and division winner in Black Rob. Joe Flacco made the difference here. 37.56 points, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. As a wire pickup, I think, Jalen Hurts is Black Rob's starter. Last minute addition to the roster. Made the difference in the matchup. If Joe Flacco has a pedestrian, average Joe type of performance, Black Rob loses this matchup. But Joe did everything that he needed him to do. 15.9 points from, I think, the second leading rusher. Well, probably the leading rusher in the league. But the top running back overall is probably Kamara. I don't know the stats. But Jacobs has been doing everything I did not think he would do. I stand corrected since he left Vegas. And it's much more evident 5 weeks into the season why Jacobs is getting to do what he's doing in Green Bay versus why he was getting such poor play in Vegas. Offensive line. And having somebody that a quarterback and receiving core that's threatening to a defense to take pressure out of the box and let him go crazy. That's what we're seeing in Green Bay. So whatever. Enjoy. Antonio Gibson, 7 points. Not much else from the offense except for the flexes. Ramondre Stevenson, I'm sure Rob was not expecting to give him 17.2 points. He was about to send them away. That actually ended up panning out as well, having him in the starting lineup for a 10-point margin. Zay Flowers, 7 catches for 111 yards. No touchdowns, but still 17.5 fantasy points. 31.5 points from Jerome Baker. I was fully prepared to hold on to Tyrese Knight for the hope that, not the hope, but in the instance that Jerome Baker got hurt again or Tyrell Dodson. But Baker looks like he's back healthy. 14 tackles, a sack, and he had to do something else. He had a stuff. He had 8 solo tackles, 6 assisted tackles. Oh, and he forced a fumble. There you go. 31.5 points. Tremendous performance from him coming back from a 3-game absence to try to get Seattle to win their game against New York, but they ended up losing, but helped out Black Rob. The captain, my captain, Demario Davis, 16 points. Fred Warner, 19. Deshaun Elliott, 16. And Trevin Wallace, who everybody went after on the wire. I had been watching him all offseason from the draft. One of the top linebackers coming out. I was excited about him. I was very impatient with him because I needed linebackers that were producing right away. And he looked like he was far down the linebacker depth chart. Well, guess what? Shaq Thompson gets hurt. Josie Jewell gets nicked up. And here comes Trevin Wallace. A whale of a game. 15 tackles. All solo. Or 10 of them solo. 5 of them assisted. And a stuff. And he got 26 points. So 50 points between 2 linebackers. And then another 40 from the other 2. Or 35 from the other 2. Linebacking core made a huge difference in this matchup where a lot of guys didn't show up. Chris Godwin, Deontay Johnson got hurt. Those linebackers really stepped in the gap. Meanwhile, for D. Will, Jaden Daniels has been a rock star all season. Probably could have used more rock star energy. But 22.7 points, you can't get mad about that for your quarterback. Still a solid performance to get to 250. Double-digit scores from the rest of the roster on offense for the most part, except for Trey McBride. Dontavion Wicks. He's going to have games like that. That Green Bay receiving core is a toss-up week to week. Frankie Louvu, Dorian Williams, both 20-plus point performances, and KJ Britt went for 14. Some misses. This is why I'm big on D-line. When the D-lineman gives you a goose egg, which Montez Sweat I advocated for over the other guy, Daryl Taylor. I thought the Sweat would be the more consistent, high-level performer. Consistent, no. High-level, yes. This week was not one of those weeks. But that D-line makes a big difference in matchups like that to me. It kind of influences my personal strategy. And then the defensive backs, they barely scrape double digits for the most part, including the flexes. Just not enough. It's not enough. The offense did what they're supposed to do. Linebacking core, what they're supposed to do. DBs, flexes, D-line, a little bit of a letdown in this matchup. And that's with Black Rob having quite a few of his heavy hitters on bye. When he starts getting them back into the starting lineup, it's gonna be scary, as it usually is year to year. But this is still one of D. Will's better starts to the season, 3-2 in America's teams. First place in the division, so still kudos to you. Gonna get to my matchup. I don't think I had the matchup of the week. I did have an upset. Based on the projections and based on the rosters that were rolled out on Sunday. I was not expecting to win this matchup. I was barely expecting to break 200, but man, I had some guys step up big, perform well. I made some appropriate moves, and I pieced it together. I got lucky. I'm not going to even lie. I'm not going to boast and brag like, oh yeah, I did that. I got lucky. Because I'm in a relegation race too. Technically, by record, I don't identify as a relegate, even though I've been relegated. But I was hoping and praying. And lo and behold, guys showed up for me. I got the victory, the River City Rollers, 252.06 to 235.5. Josh Allen let me down. Only 17.64 points for the position I drafted him in. I think he's like second or third quarterback off the board. That's unacceptable. He did go up against a really good Houston defense, but between his receiving core and his own woes throwing the ball, accuracy issues, I needed more from that. I needed more from him for that, and that concerns me moving forward. But I had many other guys step up. Brock Bowers, 57-yard touchdown, catch and run. Really boosted me in the early games, 26.7 points from him overall. Trey Sermon was a pickup off the wire, 15.3 points, filling in for Jonathan Taylor. Raheem Mostert, I'm very, very grateful that y'all left him in all these leagues. I just left him on the wire in multiple leagues in Retro. I don't understand it, but thanks. 10.8 points. Even if he's not the full-time starter, I can throw him in my flex. Hopefully he falls in the end zone or whatever. I don't know. But he's going to be the more physical, downhill, between the tackle runner, unless Jalen Wright passes him up or passes up Achane, which I don't know how that's going to work out. I'm going to ride the wave for now. Mike Williams, terrible performance. I really thought he was catching on and getting traction with Aaron Rodgers, but that whole offense and that whole team, as we've seen this week, is a dumpster fire. Way too much talent for them to be performing this bad. I don't know what's going on. Xavier Legette got banged up early, so he only gave me one catch, but he's back fully healthy. Juju, another wire pickup, scrambling last minute. Again, one of those guys that was just left on the wire. It's like, okay, he's in the top offense in the league, multiple time defending champion. He almost had 1,000 yards with them a couple years ago for their second Super Bowl run. He's just sitting on the wire. Thanks. 18.5 points. I think he made the difference in this matchup. He had a 50-yard catch and run for me too, even though he didn't get in the end zone. That big play was really the difference on Monday night to extend the gap that I already had ahead of CJ. My linebacker stepped up really big. Shout out to Peyton Wilson. I've been waiting on him all off season. He's finally shown up. He's getting the playing time. He's getting the opportunities to perform. and he's showing why he was one of the top linebackers coming out of college last year. 15 points alongside Logan Wilson's 15. Justin Sternad, 19.5, filling in for Alex Singleton. So now I have a linebacking core. Amazing. Amazing. I had to get rid of Tyrese Knight, but I got Nate Lamb coming off of IR, and now I have linebackers. Max Crosby, 1 week removed from a high ankle sprain. 14 points, 2 sacks. Crazy. How much of a high ankle sprain he had, I don't know, but to perform like that off of what they say is a high ankle sprain is nuts. And then TJ Watt did TJ Watt things, 26 points. Thank you, Kevin, for allowing me to have my guy back on my roster. I appreciate you. Jordan Love, 16.5. I'm grateful that he's healthy. His style wasn't too badly nicked. I had enough guys do enough things for me to win. Jalen Jones, 19 points. I didn't know too much and don't know too much about him at corner. But that defensive flex comes up big for me in matchups like this. So I needed that. Now Hufanga is out again after he just came off of IR. And yeah, we'll figure it out. I had Saquon on bye. I survived the bye. So I think I'm in good shape now, especially now that there's talks that Devontae Adams may not get traded. We'll see. Even if he does, fantasy-wise, I'm taking my time before I just send him off. Emotionally, I wanted to, but I might hold out. CJ, really good performance with a 235. Not bad. Achane getting hurt didn't help. That actually kind of flipped the game because Achane was probably going to get way more spin and keep this matchup more balanced, but Mostert ended up taking over. ATN banged up again as well with that shoulder injury resurfacing. Still managed to get 11 points. And not much from Debo for 2.5. Not really sure. That San Francisco offense, if one player in the offense is missing, it seems like the whole offense is down. And that's unfortunate because it's too much talent over there for one guy to not be able to step up consistently week after week and take over the load, especially with how Jordan Mason has been running. But too many of those guys run hot and cold for me, which is why I kind of avoided the whole San Francisco offense. Initially, I was wondering why you had this bye week in your starting lineup. I saw your bench and it made sense. It's like, okay, he's been producing, and Denzel Perryman, you don't want to let him go. And you got Anzalone as well on bye. So it's like, well, I'll just leave that in the lineup for, just kind of filling a void or filling a gap. Like the effort is being made. I saw the effort being made to fill the lineup. But that definitely hurt. A starting linebacker of any caliber would have helped you win this matchup. If he had just gave you, he would have had to give you 17. Never mind. But it would have helped. Surely would have helped. Defensive line outperformed your linebacking core, which is interesting. DBs, very solid performances. And Minka, who's finally looks like he's all the way back. And Dumbledore Lenore had 19 points. And Zion McCollum. These names, boy. 21.5 points. Still an encouraging performance. Still 3-2. Still first in the Frozen Tundra division. Still CJ's best start performance-wise in retroactive history. First 5 games, even though the record may not suggest it. I think it is the first time you've been 3-2. Definitely first time you was 3-1. But man, look, I got lucky. I had a good matchup this week. I got fortunate. I caught him with a lot of buys and not being able to put out his full strength roster, and I was able to piece together something a little better. So I'll take that. I want to get to here we go. Did I touch on it? Oh, there it goes. Highest scoring matchup of the week. Now, this was actually a blowout, but I'd say this second to last because Rob Jordan made a valiant effort to make it competitive. It was just way too late. Tez raced out to a very, very early high scoring lead and really didn't have to look back. But I think towards the end, he might have looked back once or twice. The Tribal Chief got the win, 295.34 against Rob's Devil Pugs, 276.68. And a lot of those 276 points came at the towards the end of the week. The night games on Sunday and Monday and the late afternoon games. Joe Burrow, crazy. In a loss, 392 yards, 5 touchdowns, 49.78 fantasy points, and the Bengals still lost. The kinds of losses I always say I hate. I'd rather get blown out, and I'll talk about this in a Ray review because this happened this week. I'd rather you just blow me out. I'd rather not be close. I'd rather not have hope. I'd rather just know without a shadow of doubt that I'm going to lose and accept it early than have hope and faith and get my emotions involved all the way up until the last second and then lose. That's the worst way to lose. And that's how the Bengals lost. Not quite the same for Rob Jordan, but still, some hope was there that he might catch up. I don't think he really got all the way into the comeback effort. I think he knew what it was pretty early. But still, a monster of a performance. Would have beat almost every other team in the league this week. Man, double digits from all the skill guys except for Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. The Jets offense, again, dumpster fire for whatever reason. What else he have going? Levante David went for 23. 31.5 from Sam Hubbard. A crazy performance there. What did he do? 7 solo tackles, a sack, and the safety. He got that safety. That's 10 points. And then everybody else pretty, solid performances. Good kicking performance from both owners. Chase McLaughlin and Will Reichard. But man, on the other side, almost a 300. Baker Mayfield went for 29.4. Not a whole lot of yards, but 3 touchdowns. Very efficient, quality, game managing plus type of performance from Baker Mayfield. That's not a diss, that's a compliment. Brian Thomas Jr. went for 29.7. He is fine. I think he's finally taken over as the true number 1 in Jacksonville. I think it was still a question early. Christian Kirk, the veteran, proven, high target guy. But Brian Thomas came in and said, give me that chain. That's my chain. And I think he's going to start to take that number 1 role, especially if it pans out in victories for the Jaguars. Xavier Worthy didn't do much in the air, but he had a rushing touchdown on the end around, which was enough for that flex spot. Tyrone Tracy, 129 yards on the ground, 15.5 fantasy points. 18 carries. He had a great game for the Giants. I'm going to have to go back and watch those highlights because I didn't see nothing about him. Zaire Franklin, 15. Aziz Al-Shahir. 18 points, 26.5 points from Roquan Smith. Great linebacker performances. Christian Wilkins was balling until he got hurt in the second quarter. All those 14 points came in a quarter and a quarter. 5 tackles and a sack. Agba went for 4 tackles and a sack for 12. Cameron Bynum, 18. Harrison Smith, 15. I love that Minnesota defense. Terrell Bernard, 14.5. Riley Moss got a pick. He got in the pick party for the against the Raiders. He went for 15. And a dominant victory with Patrick Mahomes on the bench. Shows how good Tez's roster is from top to bottom. And Tank Bigsby got 31 points on the bench. If he gets plugged in for Jerome Ford, that's 320 points. So very, very scary times for a very, very scary 3-time former champion. And finally, because this has gone way too long, the matchup of the week. Veteran owner in DV Deuce Greer, the Kimball Nightmare going up against rookie owner and Harrison Decker. We got 2 words for you. After stat corrections, got the victory, 243.88 to 243.56. Originally, the victory went to Deuce. He knew the stat correction was coming. He said he didn't care, but listen, we all care when it comes to wins and losses. No one wants to lose, especially in this fashion. Me personally, I just spoke to it. And that's what happened here. I forget, I don't know who got the stat correction, but it worked in Harrison's favor. Very, very close matchup all the way through Monday Night Football. It wasn't really any gaps or spaces where it was runs one way or the other. It was just pretty neck and neck the whole time. Daniel Jones, 25 points. Caleb Williams, 29. 19 from DeAndre Swift, 14 from Chase Brown. Javonte Williams, 13. Kyron Williams, 16. All the way down. Darnell Mooney gave Harrison a big boost in the receiving core and tight end performances, but the flexes got the advantage for Deuce with Darius Slayton and Jalen Tolbert. Big linebacking performances from both owners. Okay defensive line performances, but what made the difference was those DBs. Those damn DBs for Harrison. Budda Baker, 21 points. Double digits from the other two. And then Monteric Brown, corner, got 12 points. And that was the difference in the matchup. Really good scores from both owners. The coulda, woulda, shoulda game could be played on both sides. Trayvon Walker was on the bench. Kyle Pitts was on the bench and actually had a game. But yeah, it panned out the way that it panned out. I personally try not to second guess and overthink what I could have done or what I should have done different, especially this early in the season. I just take note, learn from it, and really try to go with my gut for future matchups and future weeks. So that's all I got, guys. That is my Week 5 wrap recap. Ran a little bit long. I got kind of excited just talking about the different dynamics and different matchups. Next week, I'll do better at just talking about the scores and the implications for the different owners and the different teams. Take a quick look at the standings here. Like I said, the division leaders pretty much remain the same. CJ, D. Will. Was Deuce the division leader last week? Nope, D. Will led last week. Harrison remains at the top of the black hole. And Sip remains at the top of the jungle. But I think there's going to be some movement happening in these next couple weeks. You can see all that green over here in the black hole. Right? And then you can see all this red in America's teams. And it's in numerical order. Haha. But, get out of there. We got a lot of different movements happening. People paying attention to their roster. People paying attention to the wire. Striving to make trades. Being patient when necessary, depending on their draft. The other guys they picked up. I see this changing over the next month. There might be some divisions that get flipped completely. Not this one. This division's not getting flipped right here, especially because of this. And I don't think. Well, no, that division too. Yeah, this division isn't getting flipped either. At least from bottom to top, it's not getting flipped. So that's all I got. I appreciate y'all. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did watch from beginning to end, and if you didn't enjoy, let me know. Let me know what I could do different. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, doubts, fears, etc., DM me in the Discord chat or message me on Facebook Messenger. Any personal conversations, call or text me. I'll holler at y'all later. You have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your week 6. Good luck. Peace.